Get started shortly. Shabbat shalom to those in the YouTube world. I'm on paltalk.com, so this is why you see me talking in the computer all the time. We're about to go ahead and get started. So here we go. Shabbat shalom. If I can be heard, press 4. Hallelujah. As always, we open with the Kaddish Di Rabbanan. Yitkadal vayikadesh shemei rabah. V'yalmadi barakerote v'yimelich malkute. B'chayichunu v'yamichunu v'chayedu. Kol beit Yisrael bagala uvizman kariv. V'yimeru amen. Yehesh mei rabba mavorak leolam ulme almaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabach. V'yipa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemedu kudusha berichu. V'yela min kol barachata v'ashtirata. Tush bechata v'nechmata. Damiran ba'alma. V'yimeru amen. Al Israel ve'al Rabbanan ve'al Talmidei-Chum ve'al kol Talmidei-Chum ve'al kol man dasakin barita di bataracha den v'dei b'kol atar v'yatar yehela chonu chom slama rabah kinei v'chasti davarach min v'chayin arakin zonar roicha ufarkana man kadam abahun di bashamaya v'meru amen yehei slama rabah men shemaya v'chayin tovim aleinu ve'al kol Israel v'meru amen osei shalom b'mromav hu barakamav yasei shalom aleinu ve'al kol Israel v'meru amen. Magnified and sanctified may his great name be in the world he created by his will. May he establish his kingdom in your lifetime and in your days and in the lifetime of all the house of Israel, swiftly and soon. And let us say amen. May his great name be blessed forever and all time. Blessed and praised, esteemed and exalted, raised and honored, uplifted and lauded be the name of the Holy One. Blessed is he beyond any blessing, song, praise, and consolation uttered in the world. And let us say amen. To Israel, to the teachers, their disciples and their disciples' disciples, and to all who engage in the study of Torah, here or elsewhere, may there come to them and you great peace, favor, kindness, compassion, long life, ample sustenance, deliverance from their Father in heaven, and let us say, amen. May there be great peace in heaven and good life for us and all Israel, and let us say, amen. May he who makes peace in his high places, in his compassion, make peace for us and all the house of Israel, and let us say, amen. Once again, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Hebrew Vision, where Yah is El Elyon, the Most High. And Yahushua ben Yosef is Hamashiach. We greet each and every one of you all with peace, with love, with kindness. And we want to thank each and every one of you all for choosing to tune in today to Hebrew Vision Live on paltalk.com. As always, acknowledging the elders, mothers, the teachers, the brothers, sisters, and children. Love to each and every one of you all. To the Morim, whose voice we just last heard, Morei Shevanaya. Toda Rabbi Aki for keeping us rooted in our culture, in our ancestry, in our heritage, and bringing forth this role of redemption that we play as Pan-Africanists, but also humanists. We are for the human race. And it doesn't matter what your nationality is if you are in Torah. Yes, indeed. We'll do that, Elder. And we just want earth to be restored under the rightful order of Yah and his rulership through Ben Adam, through the Son of Man, through the Son of Adam, children of Adam, who will govern and rule righteously in and with Torah. Toda Rabbah, Morei Shebanaya for your presentation, as well as for your reading of the Haftarah, as well from the book of Hosea, and as well Toda Rabbah to Morei M70 for your offering as well, and for bringing forth the tragedy sometimes of trying to count the stars of heaven outside of the commandment of Yah, making that clear for us and bringing that into a focus, as well as for your reading of the Parasha, BeMidbar, as we start a new Sefer, a new book, which is BeMidbar, the book of Numbers, as well as for your prayer and for your playing of the vibrations. Toda Rabbah for that. And as Sheb was just talking about, an elder typed in the box here. Um, this past Thursday, we had our first broadcast on Spreaker.com, and it was hosted by Elder Mikael 8, who is in the room. I believe he's in there. Yes, I see him. Shabbat shalom to you and yours, Elder. And a brother, Kimathi Malaku Ben Yashar Allah. He is one of members of Beit Mashiach here in Kansas City. Pulling that up right now, Elder. And also, it was co-hosted by myself, Mikael Korbanyahu. And the name of the show, which I'm about to actually post in here, was entitled, Will Israelites Ever Have True Unity? So we went about just discussing matters of that particular topic and bringing it into a focus. Historically, we looked at the Torah principles and scriptural principles of unity. We looked at historical matters of unity as relates to pre- and post-Garveyite Israelite movements in North America, focusing on those. And then we also focused on the Solomonic kingdom, in which was reported to be the most peaceful and prosperous kingdom that Israel has ever known. And so we took those three paradigms and analyzed them and then had some discussion. We welcome, of course, any and all phone calls. We right now are just using a Skype call method. So if you have Skype, you can call us in on Hebrew Vision and ask any question, make any comment relative to the topic in which we're speaking about. But that is the link right there. And I must say, it has, definitely added on somewhat to my plate to really be prepared for this. Coming up with topics and researching information for it, studying it, and being able to prepare for it. So today, I had something prepared, but in the midst of listening to the Parasha this week, I had a change of heart in terms of what to present. So I'm going to ask for you all to pray with me as I present this particular offering for you, in which I want to the four living creatures. Today I want to look at the four living creatures. You may ask why. Why are we looking at the four living creatures? Well, we'll get into that, but the book of Numbers gives us a very, very great insight into the four living creatures and who they are, what they do, how they move, so on and so forth. You can name it. And so, before we do get into that, M70, I do have several passages that I'm going to be reading from. So if you're with me, Bavakashah, please follow with me. We're going to begin in the book of BeMidbar, the book of Numbers. We're going to look at the 24th chapter. We're going to read the 5th through the 9th verse. Numbers 24, verses 5 through 9. The four living creatures. It reads as follows. This is the Edomite descendant Balaam. This is actually, he's from the line of Laban. Balaam is an Aram Naharamian. And so this is Balaam speaking about Israel as he's looking over a cliff on the encampment of Israel. He says, how good are your tents, O Yaakov, your dwellings, O Israel, like the wadis that stretch out, like gardens by a river, like aloes planted by Yah, like cedars beside waters. So here you see four elements. You see wadis, gardens, aloes, and cedars. He makes water flow from his buckets, and his seed is in many waters. His seed, his word is in many people. Listen to this. His sovereign is higher than Agag, and his reign is exalted. El, who brought him out of Mitzrayim, is for them like the horns of a wild ox. He devours nations, his enemies, and he breaks their bones. and with his arrows he smites. He bowed down. He lay down like a lion. And like a lion, who would rouse him? Blessed is he who blesses you, and cursed is he who curses you. One thing we have to understand, and this relates to unity as well, is when Balaam saw this, Israel had been through many trials, through many tests in the wilderness, but this was a time when they were coming back from a challenge, dealing with war, but they had become unified at this point in time. But now Balak was seeking a way to curse them. And so this is a moment that is right before Israel falls into the sin of Baal Peor, the Lord of the cleft rights with Midianites. But what he saw, what Balaam was allowed to see, prophetically speaking, was a reality that had transcended just their physical dimension. Balaam was able to see into some spiritual realms of this matter, which is what prompted him to say, how good are your tents, O Yaakov, your dwellings or your tabernacles, O Israel, because he's seeing things in this realm of the spirit. And we're going to get into that a little more. And this is what I want to go to next, okay? I just wanted to kind of lay that out and look at the dwellings and the tents and the arrangement of the encampment of Israel has a very significant role as relates to the four living creatures. And we'll get into that with more specificity as this unfolds. But for now, Moreh M70, Revelation 5 and verse 6. Revelation 5, verse 6. It reads as follows. This is Yochanan recording a vision of which he was able to see. He was made privy of this revelation. It reads as follows. And I looked, saw in the midst of the throne and of the four living creatures, and in the midst of the elders, a lamb standing, as having been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of Elohim sent out into all the earth. So in the midst of the throne, and we'll get to this with more depth, but we know that the throne on earth, well, let me ask you this. What was the throne on earth symbolized by? What physical structure symbolized the throne on earth? There was something that had to represent Yah's throne on earth. Yeah, we are truly. But think in terms of structure. There it is, Bidas, Todah Rabbah, Eric. It was the Ark of the Covenant, and more expressly, the lid to the Ark of the Covenant. Okay? The lid to the Ark of the Covenant. Yes, indeed, the mercy seat. Okay? That represents the throne of Yah on earth. We know, particularly in the wilderness expedition, this was in Holy of Holies in the tabernacle. Okay? And we're going to do the arrangement of that. We're going to come back to that shortly and look at why this is so significant. But we see 4 living creatures, and we'll get to them. I'm going to kind of save that. But we also see 24 elders. Okay? And we talked about this briefly last week of how the 24 elders are representative of the 12 elders from each resurrection. The barley harvest, which rose with Mashiach in Matthew 27 and 52. And then you have the wheat harvest resurrection. And let me go back. Let me digress. The barley harvest also corresponds to Revelation 14. These are those who were not defiled with women, no guile was found in their mouth. For they are the first fruits, the bikurim of Elohim. The first fruits of what? Of the resurrection with Mashiach. He is the first of the first fruits, but they rose after he rose. And that was the barley harvest, and you can further read this in Exodus 9 when it talks about the barley and the spelt were struck, for they were in blood. The wheat had not yet been struck because it was a late crop. The wheat harvest, which will deal with those who come at the end of the age and rise. And 12, from that crop, from that harvest, will compile and compose the 24 elders seated around the throne, of which the 4 elders are also, of the 4 living creatures are also in the midst of that. We see the elders, and we know the Lamb is the king. He is the lion. He is the one who was slain, but yet rose from the dead by the word of Yah. Okay. The 7 horns and the 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits, we know that Isaiah 11:2 gives us a rundown of each of those 7 spirits. And I'm not going to enumerate those or itemize those, but we are going to go ahead and proceed with this particular matter. But I wanted to set the frame with these 2 particular verses. How good are your tents, O Yaakov, your tabernacles, O Israel? And this here we can see the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders in the midst of all this matter. Okay, Todah Rabbah. So here's the 7 spirits. The spirit of Yah, the first spirit, shall rest upon him. That is the first spirit, Yah's spirit. The second is the spirit of wisdom. The third is understanding. The fourth is counsel. The 5th is might. The 6th is knowledge. And the 7th spirit is the spirit of the fear of Yah. Those are the 7 spirits. Those are the 7 eyes. Those are the 7 horns which Yah has sent out into all the earth. So the scripture interprets itself. So I can hypothesize what I think what the 7 spirits would be, and I can hypothesize what I think the 4 living creatures are, and I can hypothesize what I think the 24 elders are, but the scriptures give us an understanding of that itself. And this is the reality of the matter. Let's go now, Moreh M70, to the book of Yochanan, the book of John, the witness of John. 3rd chapter. We're going to read the 11th and the 12th verse. Yochanan 3, verses 11 and 12. It reads as follows. Truly, truly I say to you, we speak what we know and witness what we have seen, and you do not receive our witness. If you do not believe when I spoke to you about earthly matters, how are you going to believe when I speak to you about the heavenly matters? Now, this is a major statement that Mashiach Yahushua made right here, because what takes place truly is a spiritually discerned revelation, okay? And by that I mean this. We have to understand that ideas such as spaceships, ideas such as the rapture, ideas such as, things that do not truly relate to Torah will never be fully understood. And we talk about the clouds, and we talk about, we'll get into Ezekiel today, these matters that many people are not rightfully dividing and interpreting properly because they are not founded in Scripture. They have not received the witness. They have not been instructed properly. And this is what Kepha spoke of when he deals with Shaul's writings. The untaught and the unstable twist to their destruction because they have not been properly raised up in the consciousness and the understanding of Torah. This is what we would call an apocalyptic genre of literature in the Hebraic consciousness. Now, however that would be typified in the Hebrew language, I do not know. Vision to see spaceships. He deals with consciousness, able to transport itself in. This is what is truly at heart with this matter. Now, if we don't understand earthly matters through which these parables give us the points that the spiritual or heavenly teachings contain, we're never going to see it. And that's what Mashiach is saying here. That's why I speak to them in parables, so that hearing they shall not understand, seeing they shall not perceive, lest they shall turn and be healed. This is not for everyone. This is for a remnant, a true remnant. And this is what we have to understand. The earthly matters contain the shade for the spiritual matters, the heavenly matters. There are lessons in there, and Yah gives us these points of reference to understand the deeper meaning of life, of existence. How do we know that? Well, let's turn to Matthew chapter 6, and we're going to look at verses 9 through 13. And this is we're not dealing. I'm setting you all up and myself in order to encounter these meaty matters. Matthew 6, 9 through 13. Listen to this prayer. We went over it this past week on our Yom Shani study, on our second day studies. And it's so profound how cliche this prayer has become. It reads as follows. This then is the way you should pray. Our Father who is in the heavens, let your name be set apart. Let your reign come. Here's the key. Let your desire be done on earth as it is in heaven. There is a correlation. There is correspondence that is to be in existence as it relates to the existence and order of heaven and the order of earth. There should be some sort of reflection present. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And do not lead us into trial, but deliver us from the wicked one, because yours is the reign and the power and the esteem forever. Amen. Now, this is what it all comes down to in understanding it. To Yah belongs the reign, the power, and the esteem forever. And this is what we understand as Israelites. This is not our kingdom. This is not our power. This is not our esteem. This is to Yah. And we subject ourselves to his order in order to be administrators, to be envoys, to be emissaries, ambassadors, plenipotentiaries of Yah's order and his kingdom. But the key is in verse 10. Let your reign come. Let your reign come, Yah. Not my reign. It ain't about me. It ain't about any leader on this earth. Be they Israelite, Yahudi, or be they Goyim. They are irrelevant. They are vessels. They are messengers. They are ministers, servants of Yah. And that is what we must understand in humility. And this goes for every so-called leader and just common person in the nation, because we are not greater than one another. In fact, the greatest among us will be those who are the servants, who serve one another. As the Son of Man himself said, I did not come to be served, but to serve. This is what we must understand, to bring this reality forth, in order to see the deeper matters of Torah and of existence and of consciousness. So in the same book, Moraim 70, let's turn to the book of Matthew, chapter 13. I want to look at verses 9 through 17, Bavakashah. Chapter 13, verse 9 through 17. Yahushua giving them the parable of the field and the sower. He says, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. Crucial. This means, this is what Shema is all about. Heeding and understanding and applying it to your life. He who has ears to hear, let him hear and understand. Let him perceive. Let him discern. Let him know. Let her know. Continuing on, the taught ones came and said to him, why do you speak to them in parables? And he answering said to them, because it has been given to you to know the secrets of the reign of the heavens. There are secrets in this book, people. There are mysteries that are in existence that Yah has kept from the wise, that Yah has kept from the strong. It has revealed to the little ones, to the humble and the meek amongst us, and most significantly to his servants, to those who serve him. We have received the revelation. So again, because it has been given to you to know the secrets of the reign of the heavens, but to them it has not been given. For whoever possesses, to him more shall be given, and he shall have overflowingly. But whoever does not possess even what he possesses shall be taken away from him. Because of this I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. And in them the prophecy of Yeshayahu is completely filled, which says, hearing you shall hear, and by no means understand, and seeing you shall see, and by no means perceive. For the heart of this people has become thickened, and their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their heart and turn back, and I heal them. And blessed are your eyes because they see. We have been given Hebrew vision. Blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. Now there's rooms on Pal Talk with hundreds of people in them. Today, we are a humble 34. It's not for everybody. But somehow, some way, Yah has saw fit that you would tune into this message, into this room, and weekly glean from Hebrew vision. And the vision which we have received is not our own. For we are merely messengers. We are merely vessels, working out our salvation with fear and trembling, submitting ourselves to the Torah of Yah Mashiach, which is the spirit of prophecy. That testimony of Mashiach is the spirit of prophecy, which allows us to receive that vision and to share forth the understanding which Yah has planted within us. It is nothing in and of ourselves. We are unworthy. We are nothing but a drip of defiled semen and flesh and worms. That is from which we come, and that is to which we go. Yet, in the midst of this, Yah has saw fit to raise up a body of believers assembled, united in a spirit of truth, in righteousness, and justice, and love, to bring forth this revelation in order to reestablish his kingdom on earth and to allow the kingdom to be made manifest. Continuing on, verse 16, blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. 17, for truly I say to you that many prophets and righteous ones long to see what you see and did not see it, and to hear what you hear and did not hear it. Selah. So there's revelations in this book that became fulfilled in Mashiach, which our ancestors saw a glimpse of, but they did not see the fulfillment of it. That's what Hebrews talks about. They waited in patience. Very much so, Auntie. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are truly few. And so, what Yah has planted on earth is now truly coming into its fruition. The harvest, the wheat harvest. So, there are realities which have been kept, even from the elect for a certain time, until the fullness of time had come with Mashiach appearing on earth and bringing forth the fullness of this revelation in order that we would understand perfectly, as Jeremiah 23 tells us, in the latter days. We are to understand this perfectly. And so what we're going to look in today, these four living creatures, prayerfully, is what we are to do, how we are to be assembled, what our roles are, and what power we have been vested with in order to bring this forth. So, interestingly, let's first go to Exodus 1. I want to look at the first time this idea of a living creature was truly used in a prophetic sense. Exodus 1. I want to look at verses 15 through 19. Exodus 1, verses 15 through 19. It reads as follows. Then the sovereign of Mitzrayim spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other was Puah. And he said, when you deliver the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stools, if it is a son, then you shall put him to death. But if it is a daughter, she shall live. But the midwives feared Elohim and did not do as the sovereign of Mitzrayim commanded them, and kept the male children alive. So the sovereign of Mitzrayim called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done this and kept the male children alive? Verse 19. And the midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Mitzrayim women, for they are lively and give birth before the midwives come to them. Lively. They are lively. Let's take a look at a word right quick. So when you access, give me a 4. I'm just going to put it in there 2 times. They are lively, not like the other women. That word comes to us from the Hebrew lexicon. It's yay in that particular word, but it comes from the root word chai. Chai. That means life, to live. Exactly. Chayot is the more perfect rendering, particularly as it relates to the living creatures, the living beasts. We'll get to that. But you see, it is beast. 76 times it's used as that. 197 times, we'll go back to the beginning, it's used as live. 144 times, life. This is in the Tanakh. It is used 76 times as beast. 31 times as alive. It is used as a creature 15 times. For running, 7 times. A living thing 6 times. Raw, another 6 times. What you can see here, as an adjective, it means the one that is living or alive. It means green or vegetation, flowing and fresh as relates to water, lively and active as relates to man, and reviving as relates to the springtime. It is an abstract, emphatic life, sustenance, and maintenance. Now here's where it gets deep. It is a living thing. It is an animal. It is life. It is appetite, revival, renewal. What? Community. It is a living community. Let's just say loud on that moment. And let's turn now. It's indeed our key, animation, that which gives us our vigor, our life, which makes us vibrant. As the passage says in Exodus, they are lively. They're not like the Mitzrayim woman, but they are lively. They are vigorous. They are animated. They even them beasts. They are beasts, is how you could even render that. These women are like beasts, man. They just deliver these babies like it's nothing. You think of athletics, or you think of someone in entertainment who's just known to just go, or like a Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook on the court. He can't be contained. You see what I'm saying? Steph Curry's a beast. LeBron's a beast. You think of these metaphors that are used. And this is Hebrew is the most dynamic, metaphorical, using language that there is in existence. Okay, so when these words are used, we have to understand the context of them. Those dresses he wears are beastly too. Russell's, I don't even know about Russ with the dresses. That dude's attire is a whole different story. It's a completely different story. But we can see how this language captures ideas that are being conveyed. So as that is in your head, Moraim 70, let's turn to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1. We're going to look at the entire chapter of Ezekiel. First chapter. And prayerfully get into this and understand it. This is crucial. This is Ezekiel 1, Yechezkel. It says, it came to be in the 30th year, in the 4th month, on the 5th day of the new moon, as I was among the exiles by the river Kabar, the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of Elohim. Let's just say right there. This last phrase, the heavens were open and I saw visions of Elohim, lets you know unequivocally this is a visionary experience. This is not a literal experience. So many people have used this passage to justify that UFOs or spaceships or whatever you want to call them are in existence because of this particular vision that Ezekiel is being shown. And so this here is clearly a vision of the mind in the spirit that Ezekiel is receiving. On the 5th of the new moon, in the 5th year of sovereign Jehoiakim's exile, the word of Yah came expressly to Yechezkel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chasdim by the river Kabar, and the hand of Yah came upon him there. And that is another clue, an allusion to this prophetic experience that he's going in because the hand of Yah came upon him there. This lets you know that he was now under the influence of the spirit of Yah. He was going to be given a vision and understanding of a matter that was much more deep than what he just saw with his eye, with his carnal eye. He was being shown with his spiritual eye. Verse 4, and I looked. This is where you see the spiritual dimension coming to it of the mind, where he looks into this vision to understand what is going forth. Same thing with Daniel. You can say the same thing with Zechariah. You can say the same thing with Yohanan. These are expressly apocalyptic type of visions that they're receiving. When I mean apocalyptic, these are hidden matters, okay, that shall be revealed. And I looked and saw a whirlwind coming out of the north, and a great cloud with fire flashing itself, and brightness was all around it, and out of its midst like glowing metal, out of the midst of the fire. And out of the midst of it came what looked like 4 living creatures. That word again is chaye or chayot. Okay, this is that liveliness, that community that is being seen. Okay, we'll get into that more expressly. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and each one had 4 faces, and each one had 4 wings. And their feet were straight feet. They were upright. Okay, their walk was upright. And the soles of their feet were like the soles of a calf's foot. They worked. They were workers. Okay, and they sparkled like the appearance of polished bronze. They were refined. And under their wings on their 4 sides were the hands of a man. They were able to swiftly move to and fro, but they also were able to grasp things and comprehend them and work with them to bring them into existence. And each of the 4 had faces and wings. Their wings touched one another. There was unity among them. They were standing shoulder to shoulder. Their wings touched with one another to serve Yah. They did not turn when they went, but each one went straight forward. They were on a mission, people. These did not have time to play. They were focused on what was before them. They did not turn to the right or left, but they kept straight on the path which Yah had commanded them. They did not swerve from the Torah in any way. Verse 10, the face of a man. And each of the 4 had the face on the right side. 4 had the face of an ox on the other side. And I'm just going to let that marinate because I'm not going to reveal that quite yet. That's like a grand. 4 had a face of such were their faces. The wings of each one another, and 2 covered their bodies. And they were 13 in the likeness of the living creatures. They have been purified. They have been refined They have become, in fact, the image and likeness of the Most High. And like the appearance of torches, remember, Zechariah tells us in the 12th chapter that Yehuda shall be like torches amongst the leaves. Thus each one could be as the other when the Spirit led. Exactly, Elder. There is unity and unanimity amongst them. We are united. And like the appearance of torches moving back and forth among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went lightning. Son of man, people. And the living creatures ran back and forth like the appearance of a flash of lightning. Remember what Mashiach spoke of as relates to the vision of Yaakov, of these angels ascending and descending upon a ladder, right? The Son of Man going up and down the ladder, and these messengers going up and down this ladder. This is what this is at the living creatures, and saw a wheel on the earth besides each living creature with its 4 faces. The appearance of the wheels and their works was like the appearance of beryl, and all 4 had the same form. The appearance of their works was, as it were, a wheel in the middle of a wheel. So there are layers to this. There are depths. There are orders as relates to this. Okay. When they went in any one of 4 directions. They did not turn aside when they went. And their rims were high and awesome. And their rims were covered with eyes. This is the 7 spirits of Elohim. Okay. Again, those 7 spirits are surrounding us. And he sent them out in all the earth. All around the 4 of them. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went beside them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Okay. Now this Merkava experience, this is like that chariot, the Merkava. When we're understanding the Merkava experience, Yah is dealing with consciousness. This is the method of transportation. So some are looking at this as a literal, again, vision of this UFO, this spaceship, this cylindrical flying device, so to speak. But it's speaking more about what's called the chariot of Elohim, which is, again, dealing with the consciousness of the people and being able to go into heavenly realms. As we talked about last week, outer body experiences. To tap into these intelligences of light, which Yah has given us in the form of his messengers, and to bring forth this message in the kingdom that he has given us to bring forth. Verse 20, where the Spirit was to go, they went, because there the Spirit went, and the wheels were lifted of the living creatures was in the wheels. The spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Okay, our consciousness comes from Yah's source. And that Merkava, the chariot, is what Yah truly gives in order to transit us into the fullness of life. We see that with Eliyahu. We see that with Hanoch. We see that even with Mashiach on the Mount of Transfiguration. However, he was able to harness his. Hanoch and Eliyahu were not able to truly harness their chariot and to transcend, but yet still keep it on this plane. Mashiach was the master. When these went, those. When those went, these went. When those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up together with them, for the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. And a likeness was over the heads of the living creatures, an expanse like the appearance of an awesome crystal stretched out over their heads. And under the expanse, their wings were straight, one toward another. Each one had 2 on one side, each had 2 on the other side of the body. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of many waters, many people again. This is a united front, what we're seeing. Like the noise of many waters. Yep, unfortunately. Like the voice of the Almighty. A tumult like the noise of an army. They're giving you hints right here what this is truly about. And when they stood still, they let down their wings. We were at peace when we stood still. And a voice came from above the expanse that was over their heads. That's called a bat called people, a voice of heaven, a daughter of heaven. When they stood, they dropped their wings. And above the expanse over their heads was the likeness of a throne. So what we're seeing is a heavenly vision of a court. What I mean by a court, the king's court, the throne room. And these are entities that are in the midst of it. In appearance, like a sapphire stone. And on the likeness of the throne was the likeness is the appearance of a man high above it. That's that that we saw in Revelation 5. We're going to get back to that very shortly. And from the appearance of his waist and upward, I saw what looked like glowing metal with the appearance of fire all around within it. Like the appearance. He's not saying it was. This was like the appearance, okay? And from the appearance of his waist and downward, I saw what looked like fire and brightness all around, as the appearance of a rainbow in a cloud on a rainy day. There's that rainbow again. This is Yehuda. This is what we have to understand, that bow, the sign. So was the appearance of the brightness all around it. This was the appearance of the likeness of the esteem of Yah. So what he eventually saw was the likeness of the esteem of Yah. And when I saw it, I fell on my face and I heard a voice of one speaking. Okay, so we're going to just pause on this here. Ezekiel is getting a vision of the four living creatures, which we're going to unfold a little more in the book of Revelation. And then we're going to go back to this week's Torah portion, Numbers 2. I'm going to have a few articles, and we're going to close out with some of the articles there. So Revelation 4, M70 in its entirety. It's a short chapter, but it's very meaty. 11 short verses, but has a lot of meat. Same vision in senses. We just need to stand up, a coat, just like them wheels in us. All we need to do is stand up. Chapter 4, verse 1. After this I looked and saw a door having been opened in the heaven. Now, you heaven, Israel, and more expressly, the temple area in Jerusalem. That is the throne of Yah on earth. And the first voice I heard was like a trumpet speaking with me, saying, "Come up here, and I shall show you what has to take place after this." And immediately I came to be in the spirit. Same thing happened to Yehezkel. And saw a throne set in the heaven, and one sat on the throne. So now we're seeing this from a different perspective. We saw the four living creatures and the 24 elders first, but now we're seeing the Son of Man first. We're seeing the one on the throne first. So we're seeing a reverse perspective or view of this matter. 3, and he who sat there was like a jasper and a ruby stone, sapphire red, just like ruby, okay? It was that color in appearance. And there was a rainbow emerald in appearance. And around the throne were 24 thrones. And on the 24 elders sitting dressed in white robes. And they had crowns of gold on their heads. And out of the throne came lightnings and thunders and voices. And 7 lamps of fire were standing before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of Elohim. This is that parallel that we're seeing again, making the connection to understand that these are related in expressing the understanding of what had taken place before. But now this revelation is going to give us the understanding of said matters. We position ourselves accordingly and do what is required of us. But these lightnings and thunders and voices, this is what you would call a theophany, the appearance of Yah on earth. Okay? Whenever you saw thunders and lightnings in relation to Yah's presence on earth, that was letting you know he was manifest. He was present on earth. Okay? From Mount Sinai to the pillar of cloud and fire, the column of cloud and pillar of fire. Those things let you know Yah's presence was on earth. Verse 6 was a sea of glass like crystal. And in the midst of the throne and around the throne were 4 living creatures covered with eyes in the front and the back, like those wheels. Okay? This is what this is speaking about. And the first living creature was like a lion. Here's my question. Who is the lion? Who is the lion? Judah. Okay? In Yahushua. Now, here's the next question. The second living creature like a calf. Who is a calf? Who is the calf? Is anyone familiar with who the calf is? All right, here we go. This is where it gets the ox. Who is the ox of the calf? Now we're dealing with Ephraim. Ephraim is the calf. Okay, so Yehuda is the lion. Ephraim is the calf, and we're going to see how this is all related. Then you have a third living creature with a face like a man. The man is Yaakov's firstborn, Reuben. And we're going to see why this is so imperative in the next section that we go to. And lastly, the fourth living creature was like a flying eagle. That is Dan. So the four living creatures symbolically are represented as such. I'm going to type it in here. Yes, indeed. There you go, Aki. All right, so you have the lion as Yehuda, the ox or calf is Ephraim, the man is Reuben, and the eagle is Dan. Continuing on, verse 8. And the four living creatures, each having 6 wings, were covered with eyes all around and within. And they do not cease, day or night, saying, set apart, Kadosh, 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 Yahuwah El Shaddai, who was, who is, and who is coming. And when the living creatures give esteem and respect and thanks to him who sits on the throne, who lives forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before him who sits on the throne and bow before him who lives forever and ever, and they cast their crowns before the throne, saying, you are worthy, O Yah, to receive esteem and respect and power, for you have created all, and because of your desire they are and were created. So we can see clearly one of the roles of the four living creatures is to not cease day or night proclaiming the praises and the holiness of Yah before him, esteeming Yah. Yours is the power, yours is the reign, yours is the esteem, Yah. This is what we are to do. Now, as relates to the identity of these four living creatures, what is the significance of such matters? This is where this week's Torah portion makes it so apparent. Let's turn to the second chapter of the book of Numbers. Remember, your reign come, yet your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. There has to be some correspondence. There has to be some sort of reflection of the heavenly order on earth. Because what we are seeing in vision is the spiritual order of heaven now being made manifest on earth. So Numbers 2. I want to look first at the first 3 verses. It reads as follows. Hey Mo, hold up, buddy, on the inboxes, okay? Let me get this down, okay? Yes, of course. But let me go ahead and get this in, Mo. So 1 through 3 first, all right? It reads as follows. Numbers 2. And Yah spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying, the children of Israel are to camp, each one by his own banner, beside the sign of his father's house. Let them camp around the tent of appointment at a distance. What is the tent of appointment? And what is the most significant vessel in the tent of appointment? What is the tent of appointment and the most significant vessel in the tent of appointment? The tabernacle, which contains the mercy seat. The mercy seat contains the throne. It represents the throne of Yah. So now we're seeing an encampment. Okay? So, on the east side, towards sunrise, on the east, those of the banner of the camp of Yehuda camp according to their nations. And the leader of the children of Yehuda, Nachshon, son of Aminadab. So on the east, I'm not going to read all of these, but the lion faces to the east. And with his encampment, you have Yisachar and you have Zebulun. Okay? So this is the lion to the east, under the banner of Yehuda. Now, let's go to verse 4. On the south side, we have man represented verses 10 to verses 12 and 70. We're just going to read we'll do the verse 4. Okay. So, and the army with his registered ones, 54,400. So 10 through 13, Moray. Now we're going to skip 10 through 13. On the south side, the banner of the camp of Reuben was the one who was the head of that particular side of the encampment of Israel, according to their divisions. And the leader of the children of Reuben, Elitzur, son of Shediur, and his army with its registered ones, 46,500. So on the south side, the man was represented by Reuben, who also had the tribes of Shimon and Gad with him. This is the south side of the tabernacle's encampment. Now, going to the west side, verses 18. Well, let me go back, actually. Go back to 17. This is the central matters around the throne where the 12 elders are, okay? 24 elders, okay? Representative by the Levites. The tent of appointment, the camp of the Levites shall move all in the middle of the camps. As they camp, so they move out, everyone in his place by their banners. Those are the wheels within the wheels, people. There is a wheel within a wheel right here. The priesthood is the inner wheel. And where they lead them, they go. Because these are the conductors. We talked about this last week. They are the lightning rod. They are the guides of the righteous. Okay, so these are the wheels within the wheels. They got the 7 spirits of Yah in them as well as the outer wheel. Okay, so verse 18. On the west side, the banner of the camp of Ephraim. Now this again is the ox. This is opposite Yehuda. The lion was on the front, the east. The ox is on the west. Okay, the man was to the south, and we're going to get what's to the north. 18 through 21. On the west side, the banner of the camp of Ephraim, according to their divisions, and the leader of the children of Ephraim, Elishama, son of Amihud, and his army with their registered ones, 40,500. Now to the north side, verses 25, Moray, to verse 26. On the north side, the banner of the camp of Dan, according to their divisions. Let me go back a little bit, actually. With Ephraim out of the way, so they encamp with Dan under the banner, Ephraim under the banner of the man. Okay? To their divisions, and the leader of the children of Dan, Achiezer, son of Amishadai, and his army with their registered ones, 62,700. Okay, so Dan had with him on the north the eagle, Asher, and Naphtali. So we see the entire encampment of Israel represented by the 4 living creatures, with Yehuda to the east under the banner of the lion, leading Israel out. They go out first, remember. To the south, we have Reuben, the banner of man, the face of the man, with Shimon and Gad with him. To the south side. On the north side, we have Dan, under the banner of the eagle, with Asher and Naphtali. also with his troop. And to the west, we have Ephraim, Menashe, and Benjamin under the banner of the ox or the calf. And these four sides of the encampment of Israel represent the four living creatures and the wheels within the wheels. So when you get this here, please pull it up and let's take a look at this picture. Yes, exactly, Aki. It's not about no doggone UFOs. This is about the encampment of Israel. I want you to click on the second picture. The second picture actually looks like a cross. It looks like a cross when you actually pull it up. My thing is kind of acting crazy. Give me 1 second, please. One second. I got a lot going on my computer. Not cooperating with me. I want to be with you all. Okay. It should say Camp of Israel numbers 1 and 2. Okay. You should see here. Yes, indeed. Toda Rabbi. This image gives you the four living creatures. All right. You have, again, to the east, Yehuda, with Issachar and Zebulon with him. You have to the south, Reuben, with Shimon and Gad with him. To the west, you have Ephraim, Menashe, and Benjamin, again, to the west, under the banner of the ox. Then you have to the north, Dan, with Naphtali and Asher. And Lewi is in the middle. Okay, click on that, Auntie, and you can actually see it on the actual site. But this here, again, this is not talking about UFOs. This is talking about you. This is talking about me united and encamped around Israel, around the throne, symbolically. Okay? This is what this is talking about. I'm not going to read that article. And 70 has it brought up. But I do want to read a couple of other articles looking at the book of Revelation first. When you access this article here, give me a 4. Welcome to all who recently entered into Hebrew Vision. Toda Rabbah for choosing to fellowship with us on this beautiful day. All right. This is what we're reading here. The four beasts. Revelation 4, 6 through 11. So the word translated beast be translated living creatures. Hallelujah. Levi is the will within the will. Okay. Yes, indeed. Yahud. Israel is the outer will. The inner will is Lewi. Okay. This is what we need to understand here because they lead us according to the word where we are to go. But the word translated beast should be translated living creatures as in exactly. So this is really part 3 of the priesthood. Again, this is the orders of Lewi and Melki-Tzedeq part 3, if you really want to be honest with it. Yes, very much so. Okay? As in the Revised Version. The word here translated beast in the Greek is zoon. It is not the same as the one translated beast, therion, in chapters 11, 13, and 17, which is very important to distinguish. The fourth beast spoken of in Revelation 11, 13, and 17 is not the same word as relates to the four living creature beast, hayot, okay? Much different. The word here used means a living being or creature, and we know this means community in the Hebraic. This is speaking of a living community, while the word used in chapters 11, 13, and 17 means a wild, untamed animal, okay? Big difference. This is an undomesticated animal, okay? When it's speaking of Mystery Babylon, the fourth beast, Rome, and her bastard daughters, Okay, but when it's speaking of the living creatures of Israel, and the encampment of Israel, it's speaking of us in the terms of being living, alive, to be vibrant and vigorous in carrying forth Yah's word, okay, in bringing forth his kingdom. They are not angelic beings, for they are distinguished from the angels who are mentioned as a class by themselves in Revelation 5:11. Neither are they representative of redeemed human beings, for they do not join in the redemption song of Revelation 5:8-10. The word they in this passage does not refer to the 4 living creatures, but to the 24 elders. The 4 living creatures are not the same in the same class with the elders. They have no thrones or crowns or harps or golden vials. They are the guardians of the throne. Listen to that. We are the guardians of the throne, and accompany it wherever it goes. Ezekiel 1:24-28, we read that. They are 4 in number, which is the earth number, 4 corners, the 4 cardinal directions of earth. Therefore have something to do with the earth. We have the mission to restore the earth, to repair the age. That is, they are interested in the regenesis of the earth to its former glory before the fall. Yes, indeed. Tikkun Olam. They have eyes before and behind and within, which reveals their intelligence and spiritual insight of things past, present, and to come. And they are tireless in their service, for they rest not day nor night, saying, Kadosh, 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 Yahuwah Sebaot, which is, which was, and is to come. The first time these living creatures are mentioned in the scripture is Genesis 3:24, where they are called cherubim, but are not described. They were placed at the entrance of the Garden of Eden to prevent the re-entrance of Adam and Hawa and to keep the way of the tree of life. It would appear as if that place where they were stationed, there was a tabernacle, a place of worship to which Cain and Habel resorted to make offerings, and it was from there that Cain went out from the presence of Yah. When Moshe was given on the holy mount the pattern of the tabernacle, he was instructed to make the ark of the covenant with 2 cherubim upon it. These cherubim were guardians of the mercy seat, so there has to be an earthly symbolic representation as well, or an order on earth as well, in order for this to be a reality. Yes, indeed. They were guardians of the mercy seat, or the place of Yah's presence, where he in his Shekinah esteem visited the tabernacle. But it is not until Ezekiel had his vision of the cherubim that we have a description of what they are like. All right. In this page here, it says Ezekiel describes them as having the likeness of a man with 4 faces and 4 wings, and feet like a calf's foot, and hands like a man's hand, under the wings of their 4 sides, on their 4 sides. Their 4 faces were different. The front face was that of a man. The right face was that of a lion. The left side face was that of an ox, and the rear face was that of an eagle. And their whole body, back, hands, and wings, were full of eyes round about. Ezekiel 10:12 says that. And in John visions of the cherubim, or living creatures, they are described as like animals, The first was like a lion, the second like a calf or a young ox, the third had the face of a man, and the fourth was like a flying eagle. John's creatures had 6 wings, while Ezekiel's cherubim had only 4. Now, 4 wings, we know, also are representative of the taliyot, okay? The healing in our wings, that is representative of the tzitzit on our 4 corners of our garments, okay? So those 4 wings, representative with us, is us in our prayer shawl with the tzitzit on those corners, or those wings as they're called, okay? So when we cover our faces, we see that the taliyot has given us the image of those wings covering our face. And when you pray, that's when you say the kadosh like that, you have your face covered. Continuing on. In Ezekiel's vision, the cherubim, or living creatures, were accompanied by the Holy Spirit. Who's the only being that can house the Holy Spirit? But the Son of Man, Ben Adam, and B'nai Adam. And they traveled on wheels, which shows that they were on some tour or mission, attended by Yah, who sat on his throne over their heads, but the wheels are absent in Yohanan's vision. The scene is in heaven, the permanent home of the throne of Yah, which we know, again, is in Jerusalem. In the camping and marching order of Israel in the wilderness, there was a fixed relation to the 12 tribes to the tabernacle. In camp, the tabernacle rested in the middle. The camp of Yehuda, composed of 3 tribes, rested on the east, with its standard bearing the figure of a lion. The camp of Ephraim, composed of 3 tribes, rested on the west, with its standard being the figure of an ox. The camp of Reuben, composed of 3 tribes, rested on the south, with its standard being the figure of a man. The camp of Dan, composed of 3 tribes, rested on the north, with its standard bearing the figure of an eagle. Thus the tabernacle in the center of the camp, the place of Yah's presence, was surrounded and protected by standards that bore the figures of Ezekiel's and John's living creatures. The dissimilarity between Ezekiel's living creatures and John's living creatures can only be explained on the supposition that there are different orders of living creatures or cherubim, each adapted to the service he is created to perform. In Isaiah's vision in the temple of Yah, seated on his throne, he saw a heavenly order of beings that he called the seraphim. They had 6 wings like Yohanan's living creatures and cried, Kadosh, 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 Yahuwah Sebaot, Melochol Haaretz. So that is, the whole earth is filled with his esteem. But they stood above the throne, while Ezekiel's cherubim supported the throne, and Yohanan's living creatures were in the midst of or around the throne. Can you see also this in the tetragrammaton? Can you see this also as the tetragrammaton? The 4 letters, the Yad-He and Wah-He. Very interesting. I'd like for you to explain that some more, Elder. I'm wrapping this up. I got one more article. Actually, I got 3 more articles, but I want you to come and expound on that, if you will, very shortly, as I wrap this up. Continuing on. Whatever significances there may be in the different forms for the cherubim or living creatures took, it is clear that they do not represent the church, but are attendants or officials attached to the throne of Elohim. These are the elect. They are summoned, for they summoned the 4 horsemen to appear, and one of them hands to the 7 vials angels. The golden vials filled with the wrath of Elohim. Revelation 15:7 is where that's from. And when they give esteem and honor and thanks to him who sits upon the throne, who lives forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before him that sits upon the throne and worship him. They cast their crowns before the throne, saying, You are worthy, O Yah, to receive esteem, honor, and power, for you have created all things. For your pleasure they were and are created. Yes, indeed. I have one more article in this vein that I want to touch a couple things as relates to a recent event that has taken place. But this is my last article as relates to the 24 elders and the 4 living creatures. This is by Chuck Missler, The View from Above, the Camp of Israel. When you access that, please give me a 4. This is a very interesting article right here. Continuing with this article, the great discovery which opens the scriptures to us is that these 66 books, written by 40 authors over thousands of years, are an integrated message system. The same message in every book rings true throughout all 66 books. Every detail, every number, every place name, every allusion is there by careful design and is significant. Yahushua himself highlighted this in Matthew 5:17 and 18. He says, Think not that I am come to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say to you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no means pass from the Torah till all be fulfilled. Yes, indeed. Ma. This insight unlocks a number of discoveries which otherwise would escape the notice of someone who takes the text less seriously. What insights are hidden in the numbering of the tribes of Israel, which M70 was just talking about? In this brief article, we'll review a remarkable perspective from a passage that most of us skip right over, numbering the people. In Numbers chapter 1, we encounter the numbering of the people. Why? Why did the Holy Spirit want you to know the list of numbers? What hidden insights lies behind them? Of course, there are valid historical reasons for the inclusion of this detail in the Torah, but if we examine these details more closely, some remarkable insights emerge. The tabernacle. When Moshe received the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai, he also received detailed specifications and instructions for the building of a portable sanctuary, the tabernacle or tent of meeting. This is the Mishkan, people. 1. The purpose of this unusual facility was to provide a place for Yah to dwell among his people. A review of the specifics of this remarkable specifics, I think he meant to say, of this remarkable structure will be preserved for a subsequent article, he says. The tabernacle was always set up at the center of the camp of Israel. The tribe of Lewi was assigned to care for it and encamped around it. Moshe and Aaron and the priests camped on the east side next to the entrance. The three families of the tribe of Lewi, Merari, Kohath, and Gershon, camped to the north, south, and west side, respectively. The remaining 12 tribes were grouped into 4 camps around the Levites, a baker's dozen. It is helpful to realize that there were really 13 tribes, not just 12. Now, this is included because Ephraim and Manasseh had been added to the tribes of Yosef. This can be confusing to the uninitiated reader. Yaakov had 12 sons, each becoming the founder of one of the 12 tribes. However, Yosef was sold into slavery and subsequently emerged as the prime minister of Mitzrayim. 2. In Mitzrayim, those are footnotes. I'm not even going to read those anymore. So in Mitzrayim, Yosef married Asenath and had 2 sons, Menashe and Ephraim. When Yaakov and the rest of the family ultimately came to Mitzrayim, or Egypt, Yaakov adopted his 2 grandsons as his own. With the tribe of Yosef in 2 parts, we have an alphabet of 13 to choose from. The 12 tribes of Israel are listed 20 times in the Old Testament, or the Tanakh. They are listed by mother, which are Leah, Rachel, Zilcha, and Bilcha. Their numeration, their encampment, order of march, their geographical relations, etc. Each time they are listed in a different order. The Levites were exempt from military duty. So this is letting you know the outer circle of the wheel, which dealt with the 12 encampments, were a military order to protect the throne. Okay? This is why you saw the armies mentioned in each of those 4 arrangements in Numbers 2. Okay? This is why those 600,000+ members armed were mentioned. Because our duty, our role is to protect the kingdom, people. And the throne, which is the kingdom. So if we are not going about protecting the name of Yah, if we're not going about protecting the Torah of Yah, if we're not going about protecting the people of Yah, then we're not fulfilling our purpose as the 4 living creatures, as one of the 4 living creatures. Continuing on. So when the order of military march is given, there are still 12 listed, excluding Lewi. How? By dividing Yosef into 2, Ephraim and Manasseh. Lewi is thus omitted on 4 occasions. In a similar manner, Dan is omitted on 3 occasions, the most notable one in Revelation 7. Now, this, keep in mind, what was the first line that marched out into war for Israel? What was the first line, even before Judah something went? What went out first? Keep this in mind. When war broke out, something exactly, the ark went out first. So who's carrying the ark? Who carries the ark? So Lewi. Lewi was exempted from military battle, but he still was engaged in the military strategy. You had the singers, as was mentioned. You had the drummers, and you had the trumpeters, and even the stringed instruments. But you most significantly had the ark, which went out there representing the power of Yah in us. This is why we have to be a holy nation. Because if Yah's presence is to be amongst us, each and every single individual has to be set apart, has to be anointed and in the spirit. Continuing on, the 4 camps. The 12 remaining tribes, excluding the Lewites, were clustered into 4 camps. Each of these groups of each 3 tribes were to rally around the tribal standard of the lead tribe. Yehuda's tribal standard was, of course, the lion. Reuben's ensign was a man. Ephraim's the ox. Dan's ultimately the eagle. These are detailed in the following diagram you can see below. The Mazarot. It may come as a surprise to many to learn that each of the 12 tribes were associated with one of the constellations of the Mazarot, or the Hebrew zodiac. We know these by their post-Babel names after being corrupted by pagan traditions. By learning the Hebrew names and the names of the principal stars in the order of their magnitude, this is what M70 was just talking about, numbering the stars. As above, so below. Let your reign come on earth as it is in heaven. We discovered they portrayed the entire redemptive plan of Elohim, from the virgin birth, Virgo, to the triumph of the lion of the tribe of Yehuda, Leo. Here's my question. Where do you see this on earth? Where do you see the redemptive plan literally in a structure representing the virgin birth of Virgo to the triumph of the lion of Yehuda at Leo? Where do you see this at earth? My goodness, Elder. That's deep, Elder. Yeesh. You got to come on there and talk about that some more. But where do you see, no, not the Catholic Church, there's a physical structure on earth that shows this redemptive plan in a most unassuming place? Exactly, the Sphinx. The Sphinx demonstrates this unequivocally. Very much so. You see everything between the Virgo and Leo. The lion is the body of the Sphinx. The woman's head is the virgin. That is representative of that. Elder, I want you to come and talk about that very shortly. I want to finish this article first, though. It is interesting to note these 4 faces, that there are 4 primary tribal standards: the lion, man, ox, eagle, and they are the same as the 4 faces of the cherubim. Each time we encounter a view of the throne of Elohim, we notice these strange living creatures somehow associated with the protection of his throne and his holiness, etc. It would seem that the camp of Israel, with the tabernacle in the middle, seems to be a model of the throne of Elohim. It is a model. It is a reflection. It is a correspondence. His presence is in the center, represented by the tabernacle, encircled by the 4 faces, all surrounded by his people. But there's even more. Why the specific numbers? The numbering of the tribes is detailed in Numbers chapter 1. The actual population represented is obviously somewhat larger than these enumerations, since only men over 20 able to go to war were counted. Most analysis assume that women, children, and the elderly would multiply the count by some factor, 3 or whatever. The total camp would thus appear to approximate 2 million. While the numbers of each tribe may not seem to be very revealing, the totals for each of the camps are the cardinal compass points. Each of the camps of the 3 tribes were to encamp on one of the cardinal compass directions, north, south, east, or west, with respect to the camp of the Levites enclosing the tabernacle. We can only guess at how much space was required by the Levites, which was 100 feet on a side, 100 yards, or whatever. But whatever it was, we viewed that length as a basic unit. To fully appreciate all the implications, you must try to think like a rabbi. You need to maintain an extremely high respect for the precise details of the instructions. The tribes of Yehuda, Issachar, and Zebulun, collectively called the camp of Yehuda, had to encamp east of the Levites. This poses a technical problem. Notice that if the breadth of their camp was larger than that of the Levites, the excess would be southeast or northeast, not east. Therefore, their camp could only be as wide as the Levites, and they had to extend eastward to to obtain whatever space they required. The camps of Reuben, Ephraim, and Dan had the same constraint on the south, west, and north, respectively. The length of each leg would be proportional to the total in each camp. The aerial view, listen to this. If we assemble what we can infer from the Torah account, we can imagine what the camp of Israel looked like from above, which is what Bilam saw and why he said what he said, going back to that Numbers 24 account that we just read earlier. The tabernacle and the Levites in the center, surrounded by the four faces of the tribal standards in each of the four camps of Yehuda, Ephraim, Reuben, and Dan, stretching out in the four cardinal directions. We may also tally the size of each tribe to total the relative length of each camp as they stretched out in each of the four directions. The plan view or on a relative scale is shown below here. And you can see it looks like, interestingly, a taw, an ancient Hebrew letter called the taw or the cross, okay? So the ancient taw actually was like this. That was an ancient taw, okay? Yes, indeed. It would appear to us that it is a cross. Isn't that remarkable? And this is from the Torah, not the New Testament. The New Testament is the Old Testament concealed. The Old Testament is the New Testament revealed. Isn't the word of Yah fabulous? So this again points to the messianic reality of the nation of Israel. In abnegating ourselves, foregoing ego, and embracing Torah and becoming who Yah has called us to be, is what this is all about in order to protect the kingdom, the king, and the people of the kingdom, to make this a manifest reality on earth. This is what the full living creature reality is all about. This is what our calling is. But this can only take place in the place that Yah has called it to be. We will never experience this in captivity. This can only be found in the place of our promise. Now, I want to just transition to some interesting news, unfortunate news, but it is as such that life would have it. None of us are here to dwell in this flesh forever. This article comes to us from BBC. I kind of want to transition now and just bring this up. I think it's significant. It definitely marks a transition of the life of one of America's most profound athletes and powerful figures ever known. Muhammad Ali passed last night. And I have nothing but respect for the man formerly known as Cassius Clay, Olympic champion and world heavyweight boxing champion Muhammad Ali, the man who changed his sport and his country. Nothing but respect for this man. So during an era when African Americans continued to be treated as second-class citizens and those living in southern states were subject to an ugly and often brutal system of racial apartheid, few did more to nurture black pride than Muhammad Ali. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. may have been the untitled leader of the civil rights movement, winning the Nobel Prize and delivering the finest oration that Americans had heard since the Gettysburg Address. But many blacks especially did not consider him anywhere near radical enough. Yes, indeed. In 1963, Sidney Poitier became the first black actor to win an Oscar, an important racial first, but that meant little if you were unemployed in Detroit or summoning up the bravery to register to vote in Mississippi. Ali, after knocking out Sonny Liston in February of 1964 to become the first heavyweight champion of the world, arguably commanded the respect and awe of a larger black constituency. I'm the greatest, Clay had declared. From a black man in the midst of one of America's most tumultuous decades, it was not just a boast, but also a statement of immense authority. Ali exuded power at a time when many black Americans looked upon themselves as being powerless. See some pictures here. Statue of Ali. Of course, we have to idolize people, unfortunately, as opposed to just really just pay your respect to them for what they've done. But we, you know, idolize people by making these statues. To my generation, he made it real, said the civil rights leader Al Sharpton, who became a close friend of Ali. It was a guy that we all wanted to be like, that was standing for something. I remember as a kid, I didn't want to be like an old preacher in a suit and tie going to jail. You wanted to be Muhammad Ali. You wanted to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. You wanted to be the one that all the girls wanted. You wanted to be the one that could pack arenas. He made it exciting to be a part of the movement. Ali was by no means the first black athlete to hammer the walls of prejudice. Jesse Owens had dealt a mighty blow to the idea of white supremacy at the Berlin Olympics, a timely one too, given that Hitler had intended the games to showcase Aryan preeminence. In the 50s, Jackie Robinson, the Brooklyn Dodgers star who became the first African American to play Major League Baseball in the modern era, had broken the sport's color bar. But what set the boxer apart was the way he fused his distinctive voice and outsized personality to the protest movement. He wasn't just an athlete, he was a humanitarian. He was a revolutionary. And he was a Pan-African. That voice was never anything other than loud, eloquent, highly entertaining, and controversial. For much of the 60s, it was also outside the mainstream civil rights movement. By changing his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali just 2 days after claiming the world heavyweight crown, and by embracing the separatist teachings of the Nation of Islam, the boxer placed himself on the radical fringe of the struggle for black equality. The Nation of Islam, under its leader Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X, viewed white men as devils, but even mainstream civil rights figures came to believe that his religious conversion and outspoken advocacy had an energizing effect on the freedom movement as a whole. The act of joining was not something many of us particularly liked, recalled Julian Bond, who was then a student activist. But the notion he'd do it, that he'd jump out there, join this group that was so despised by mainstream America and be proud of it, sent a thrill through you. Al Sharpton believes that was Ali as a unifying figure. In spite of his separatist ideology, Malcolm X would openly attack Dr. King. Ali would openly embrace physically Dr. King, he said. And we know Al Sharpton ain't got it all right. He became a unifying force, and that is why I think we made a lot of progress. I'm not going to read the rest of this article, but you can see here that King certainly had an impact on many people, from his refusing to go to the Vietnam War because no Vietnamese had ever called him a nigger, you know what I'm saying, to just standing and speaking out just forthrightly about the conditions of America, and going to the continent of Africa to fight and to bring people together in Africa. You know, all this is truly powerful, man, in the life of, if not the greatest heavyweight champion, boxer that the world has known. Rest in peace, Muhammad Ali. And so that there, I'm just going to conclude on that note. I had some other things to bring, another video by Yassine Bey, but I'm just going to conclude on that note and pray that what has been offered here today before you all and in the sight of Yah is truly acceptable, that the meditations of my heart and the words of my lips were truly favorable before you and before Yah. I pray that anything that has been spoken has been in truth. And if it has been in truth, please give all praise to Abba Yah, so that we can further our understanding and know what these four living creatures are when we do encounter them in the future in Scripture. Now we can contextualize it a little better, make sense of it, and then position ourselves to do what we need to do in order to bring forth this kingdom. Because this is what our priestly goal is as a nation, to bring forth this kingdom, to make it manifest on earth, and to uproot the wicked. So with that, I'm going to close out with a Hati Kaddish and ask for the next speaker if we have one, or to open the microphone more so. Unless Elder, I want you to get up there, Elder, if you don't mind, Elder ICL, to kind of expound on what you were talking about, how those four living creatures also correspond to the Tetragrammaton. That'd be very profound to hear that. So I'm going to close out with a Hati Kaddish and then hand the microphone over to Elder ICL. Yikadal vayikadesh shemei rabah BeMidbar kerutei vayimelech Malki-Tzedeq b'chayehunu v'yamichunu v'chayeda kol beit Yisrael bagala uvizman kari v'imiru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mavorak leolam ulmei almaya. Barak v'yistabach v'yipar v'yiramam v'yignaseh v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemeda kudashah berichu elamin kol barakata v'ashirata tushbechata v'nechmata damiran ba'ama b'shem Mashiach Yahoshua Baruch Hashem Hallelujah v'meru Amen. Actually, this is on YouTube. You can actually access past several presentations. Unfortunately, that I've just presented, not everyone, but on YouTube. You go to YouTube and type in Hebrew Vision News, it should come up. You should be able to access it there. It should be ready probably within the next couple of hours. And you can access it there. We'll go forward from there. But Elder ICL, please raise your hand, please, and thank you. So we can hear you expound on that some more. I want to hear that. And perhaps any other reflection you may have, if you don't mind. With that, I'm going to go ahead and relinquish the mic. Shabbat Shalom to everyone in the diaspora. Shavua Tov to everyone in the Holy Land. Much love. Miss you all. Can't wait to see you all again. I relinquish the mic. Shabbat Shalom. Shavua Tov. One love.